Hello, my friends, and happy Thursday. Also, today is the first day of Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah. If you celebrate Hanukkah, have a beautiful holiday, and if you have a friend who might celebrate Hanukkah, be sure to wish them a happy Hanukkah tonight. So, I have so many sparkly, fun projects for you. I can't wait to get started. I thought I was just doing angels and fairies today, but it just sort of grew to include Snowman, and somebody asked for angel earrings last time. So I have some angel earrings, but wait, there's more. I also have other earrings. I guess you'll just have to get a little closer to find out. So I'll do a little preview first, and then we will get started. Okay, guys, so I have a couple of fun little holiday fairies. They're winged. They have a flower on their head. They have a flower as a skirt. They're just kind of very festive and botanical.
Ellen says, hi, Irina and everyone.
Hi, Ellen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Patricia says, good evening.
Hi, Patricia.
Fonda says, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Hi, Fonda, and happy Thursday to you, my friend. Okay, guys, and we have a new snowman. So, in fact, I have a couple of new snowmen. So, how are these different from snowman from 2 weeks ago? Okay, so these are just a little smaller, and these are going to be made on a headpin. And whereas the snowman from 2 weeks ago, technically I'm considering icicles or ornaments, and they're created on a long memory wire. These are actually made on a headpin, and these are a good size for a larger pendant, or maybe kind of a smaller ornament. So this can go either way.
Betty says, hello, you guys.
Hi, Betty, and thanks for joining us.
Connie says, good evening, Irina, Tony, and Lauren.
Hi, Connie. And next, I have the blue spruce. Again, this is both an ornament or a pendant. It's whatever you want it to be.
Ellie says, how cute.
Thank you so much, Ellie.
And Trudy says, hello, everyone.
Hi, Trudy, and thanks for joining us. Okay, guys, so again, this is my blue spruce. And next, we have some dancing angels. And these I have in 2 different colorways. So I have the fireplace colorway, so these are a bit more fiery, and then I have the ice sculpture colorway. And I was looking for some type of a unifying name, and ice sculpture and fireplace just seemed like it would be a little bit evocative of the different colors.
Carol says, hello, everyone. Happy Hanukkah to those who enjoy the season.
Thank you so much, Carol. And again, happy Hanukkah. So yes, today is the first night. So when Tony and I go home, we will light that first candle. Okay, guys, and of course, wishing everyone a beautiful holiday season, whatever you celebrate. I know some people are starting to go to Christmas parties, so 'tis the season. and have a wonderful Christmas season. If you celebrate Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Is there anything I'm forgetting? Are there any other holidays you guys celebrate in December? Well, other than my birthday, of course, which is in December. I don't know that everybody celebrates that. But anyway, so if there's something else you celebrate, let me know. Okay, guys, so this is the second set of colors for the dancing angels, and I will be demoing those in just a little bit. And then we have, I remember somebody specifically asked for the angel earrings, so I made a set of angel earrings, and these are very, very diminutive, and this is what they look like. So they come as a trio, and this is a good way to make 3 pair, maybe for 3 different outfits, or maybe to give as like a little tiny stocking stuffer, or maybe just a little hostess gift. I'm sure there are lots of other types of gifts you can think of, and certainly a gift for yourself is very valid. And next, I have more angels, and these are the Victorian angels. And again, a hostess gift, maybe part of the gift packaging. So lots of different uses. You can most certainly put them on a tree, on your holiday tree, or you can wear them. So the idea is that any of these, well, except for the earrings, but any of the pendants are a good size for kind of a larger pendant or a smaller ornament. So they really can go either way.
Allison says, love these.
Thank you so much, Allison.
Kim K says, so pretty. Happy Thursday and happy Hanukkah.
Thank you so much, Kim, and happy Thursday and happy Hanukkah.
Carol says, happy birthday, Irina.
Thank you so much, Carol. Okay, guys, so, and last but not least, some of you, I'm sure, will remember the drink earrings. So we have the Midnight Kiss right here, and of course, the ever so popular and iconic Martini. So both of these we actually have had before, but in a slightly different incarnation. So we did a little bit of a redesign, and of course it's new and improved. And you know, that's always the reason for a redesign. And I will demo those as well. Okay, guys, so we have lots of ground to cover. So I'm just going to move my sparkly little friends so that we can get started. So in the spirit of the holiday season, tell me about your traditions. I love hearing about everybody's traditions rather about around the holiday season. So what do you guys do that may be like really unusual, fun, maybe something that I haven't heard of?
Jane says, first time watching you. Happy Hanukkah.
Hi, Jane. Thank you so much, and happy Hanukkah. You know, it doesn't matter whether you celebrate Hanukkah or Christmas or perhaps something else. It's just all really festive and fun. Since this is your first time here joining us, welcome to our community. We are a community of creative people, and this is what we do every Thursday, except for next week. Next week, it's not going to be Thursday, but instead Tuesday, and I'm sure that I will repeat that again. So normally we get together on Thursdays and I do some type of a project. And then if you like what you see, you can always order my kits in the Etsy shop. And there's a link to the Etsy shop. So again, welcome. And we are about to get started as far as the demo. So this is going to be several little mini demos. So I think I'm going to start with my blue spruce. I am so into this little tree this year. I have made other tree projects, never one as big as this one. And I have to say, this project is brought to you by this very, very cool antique finding. So this is a rondelle, and you guys may have seen these asymmetrical rondelles in some of my other projects, but in this size. So the normal size that I have used is this one right here. And this is a very large, oversized vintage rondelle. And I was so lucky to have found them. And of course, once we run out of them, the chances of getting these again are just about 0. And so I'm going to start, I'm just stringing all my beads here. So the most important thing here is the order of our beads. So as you can see, I have already done the pre-stringing, but I just want to reveal, well, you know what, in the spirit of this being our first demo, let's just start from the very beginning. So, because this vintage rondelle has such a big opening right here, I had to do something. And that something is in the form of the little 15-0 seed beads. So we have this long head pin, and the first thing that goes on the long head pin is a little 4mm Swarovski bicone. And yes, I'm still using Swarovski because, as you guys probably know, we really stocked up on Swarovski crystal before they stopped selling to our industry, and I'm very, very happy about that. Okay, so because we have such a large hole in our vintage finding, we're using 15-0 seed beads. So I know you're thinking, how many? Well, I have about 8 of them pre-strung here. However, you get a few more in the kit so that you can determine how many you want to use. And because we're using a semi-precious stone, so this is lapis, and as you can see, it is also drilled fairly large. And every one of these is going to be just a little bit unique, as you can see. So this one that I'm going to use today is a darker blue with a little more of a pyrite inclusion. And the one that I used on my sample is kind of a lighter blue, white inclusions. Well, of course, there are going to be variations. And there are also going to be variations in the thickness of the bead itself. So that's why you have a few more seed beads than I have in my sample, because you're just going to have to adjust the number of seed beads and essentially string enough seed beads where they reach the height of our lapis bead, right? And just maybe one extra. Because the next component that goes on is a very large rondelle, and that too has a slightly larger hole. So it's nice to have those seed beads to compensate for the wobbling of all of our little components back and forth. So none of this is difficult. You know, you just string your beads. It's just that simple. So again, this is a vintage Marguerite Swarovski and another asymmetric rondelle. And then we have another vintage Marguerite and a bicone, and this time it's a metallic blue. So because I had that vintage Marguerite, I really wanted to, essentially the inspiration for the whole thing was the asymmetrical, that really large asymmetrical component. But then once I found the Marguerite, I kind of knew that everything was just going to be in the blue tones, hence the blue spruce colorway. And of course, we're going to top it all off with a star. So that's going to be our tree topper. And if you are familiar with how to make a wrapped loop, that is all I'm going to do. So I'm using my chain nose pliers to make a 90-degree angle, having left just a little extra room. And now I'm using my round nose pliers to start making my loop. And just a quick review, you always make your loop in the opposite direction of the bend. The way I do it is I stop when I get to the point where there's a question mark, right? So you don't actually have to remove your pliers from that little question mark, but just take your wire end and continue making that loop. Just follow through on the loop. And then what I do is I point the pliers towards me so that I can see the loop, and at that point, if I need to tweak it, center it, I will do that. So now we're just going to hold on to the loop with our chain nose pliers and simply wrap by hand. And that's really all there is. It's just so very simple. So I'm just going to wrap into the space that I left and maybe force the wire just a little bit. I don't have to worry about breaking my beads because of course that top bead is a metal bead, so no worries. Cut off the excess wire and pinch that little end in. And that's it. That's it, you guys. It's just that simple. Just pinching the little end in a little bit more. We definitely do not want it to stick out. And we have just made a little blue spruce ornament or pendant. Okay, guys, so that was the warm-up. And now we are going to make one of these little dancing angels. Of course, again, I have two different colorways. There's kind of like the cool colors and the warm colors, and you will see the colors in the Etsy shop. So I am actually just going to make one. And, you know, obviously they're all made in the very same way.
Lorraine says, hi, Irina and Tony.
Hi, Lorraine, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to grab everything I need for my little dancing angel. And we are going to be using this green. And you know, I should tell you also, because this comes as a trio, just like this, when you get one kit, this is what you can make. So you can always swap things out. You can swap heads and bodies. It's kind of like Mr. Potato. You can do what you want. You can give them different personalities. And in fact, this season, I made a lot of kits that come as a trio. And that's because some of my other kits where I have made multiples have been so popular. I decided that what we all want to do this season is make 3 of everything and then decide what we're giving as a gift, what we're keeping, and so on. Okay, so I'm using the wire that comes with our dancing angels, and this is 22 gauge wire. And of course, it's very important that it's half hard 22 gauge wire so that it holds its shape nicely. And roughly 1.5 inches from the end, I'm going to bend the wire to a 90-degree angle. So this is going to be very much the same as making a wrapped loop. In fact, it is making a wrapped loop. But because let me show you. Because I'm making such a large size loop, I'm going to use my my bail making pliers rather than my round nose pliers. And this is my bail making pliers size medium. So these are medium size Wubbers bail making pliers, and I'm going to use the larger side of the pliers. Okay guys, so again, we are just going to make a loop. And eventually this will become a wrap loop. So this is my loop. And before I wrap it, the whole point of this loop is that we're going to string our component onto the loop. And now we can go ahead and wrap. So the whole idea is that this little set of angels is kinetic. They are dancing angels. They're celebrating the season. And so I just wrapped the end of the wire and snipped off the excess, pinched the end in a little bit, just like we do whenever we make a wrap loop. So now we're going to start stringing. Very, very simple pattern here. So first, the wings are going to go on. And next, we have an 8/0 seed bead. And so the 8/0 seed bead is there to give our angel a little bit of a neck. It just separates the head from the wings. Otherwise, it looks just kind of a little bit funny, I think. Okay, and of course, every angel needs a beautiful halo. And this angel has the halo. I don't know why I have an extra pearl here. We'll just put it away. It's from the other set. And so she has a halo now. And what I like to do is, you could just make a loop right now and wrap it, but you know, it's just a little bit difficult to wrap it because it's a little bit concave. So for that reason, I use an additional seed bead, and this is an 11/0. I suppose we could have used an 8/0, but I like 11/0. And so this 11/0 just goes inside of our little halo. And this way, all we have to do as we wrap the loop is go down to the seed bead rather than to the center of the rondelle. It just makes it a little bit easier. So again, I just made a 90-degree angle, which is what we're going to do with most of these, because all we're doing is making a wrapped loop. And here we go. Start making a loop. And at this point, I have my question mark. So I will guide the wire the rest of the way. Look at the wire, see if it is centered, and then just tweak it a little bit to center the wire, or the loop rather. And now we're going to wrap by hand while holding on with our chain nose pliers. Once you fill that little space, that is it. That's all there is. And again, we're simply going to snip off the excess wire and always we want to tuck in that little and. And if you need to center the loop at this point, I don't know if you saw me move the loop just slightly, you can do that. And guess what? We just made a dancing angel. So it's just that simple. And really all of my holiday projects are amazingly simple. So here, I'm just going to, in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to put everything that we have done on my workspace here, and this way we can keep track of what we have demoed and what we have not demoed. Okay, so now, so the rest of my demo is actually, well, some of it is a little bit of a demo, some of it is a little bit of a show and tell. So I think let me, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the order of some of these pieces, and I don't feel that I need to demo the whole thing. Now, when I do get to our drink earrings, I will definitely demo because that is a slight redesign. So when you make the fairy, so this is the order of our, oh, here, let me grab my two lovely fairies. And so we'll put them right here, even though they can stand up, they can, but they can also lie down and relax. I believe you can see them a little better this way. So there is one little quirky thing about the fairies, and that is you start out with a bead that goes inside her skirt. Because let me just show you what would happen if we did not have this little bead. So our head pin almost wants to sneak out. So at worst, it will actually come through the opening. And at best, even if it doesn't, it's just a little bit too wobbly. You can see how very, very wobbly that is. So for that reason, I like to start out with that little bead that no one is ever going to see, because it's actually going to be right on the inside of her skirt. And then, but wait, because she's so festive and fancy, she actually has another skirt over her skirt. So the first one is antique copper and the second one is bright gold, so that she's very, very festive. And after that, she has the wings. And you know what? I'm actually missing like one little component. You know, I am going to borrow the seed bead from a different project, but actually in my actual project, the seed bead is gold. So don't worry about this silver seed bead. I know it looks a little bit odd, but all we're doing is just exploring the order of our beads. Okay, guys, so once you have the seed bead, we are going to find her head, and here is her head. So for the colorway with the copper, I picked the kind of a very light lavender bead. I just really feel it goes so beautifully with the copper. I don't know if you can see that it's not a completely crystal bead. It's like a very, very light amethyst color. I just love it with copper. And then her headdress is Again, it's a very festive headdress. So we start out with this little flower bead cap. And then I have a larger flower that goes right over the first flower. And to finish, we are going to use a 5mm crystal. So if you like the look of the crystal sitting a little bit up, we can just leave it. But if you want it to sit a little bit lower into the flower, like I made it sit on my samples, I'm going to show you how to do that. So you can see that the crystal is just a little bit more in, oops, and she jumped. So the crystal is just a little bit more inside. So that's just an option. And if we like that look, we can always use our chain nose pliers and we can spread those little, oh my gosh, I always forget the botanical name for all those little stamens, yes. So I'm just spreading those out just a tiny bit with my chain nose pliers. And now if we drop the 5mm bicone in, it just kind of sits right inside. And you know, I still don't know whether I like it a little bit more up or a little bit more inside the flower. Maybe just a little more inside the flower. I think that's my preference. And at this point, all we're going to do is just simply make a wrap loop. And I'm not going to make a, demonstrate another wrap loop because we just did that a couple of times. But in the meantime, if there's anything you want me to demo again or differently, I'm happy to do so. So you just let me know. Okay, guys, so next we have the Victorian angels. And so the Victorian angels look like this. They're kind of, I don't know, there's just something very Victorian about them. It's the shape of the bottom bead, it's the wings, it's really everything about these is kind of Victorian.
Lorraine says such pretty kits.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. I really do appreciate it. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to put my Victorian angels down right here, leaving myself still a little room to demonstrate. And so again, I'm just going to talk about the order of our beads. And so we have our long head pin, and we're going to start out with this little daisy spacer. So there's a purpose for everything. And the reason for the daisy spacer is because there's just a little bit of a larger opening in this bead. And so I don't want it to slip right over the head on the head pin. So the reason for the daisy spacer is simply to give our head pin a larger head. Plus, it's kind of decorative as well. I do like those little tiny details. Okay, guys, and next we are going to string the wings. And it looks like on this one, I actually did not give her a neck, but that's okay. She seems to be all right. So we're just going to string her head right after the wings. And then, of course, she needs a halo. And this is, I have to say, I love this color. This is a very vintage sort of color. It reminds me of, if you're familiar with Golden Shadow, it's a Swarovski color. So it's kind of like that, but even a little bit more vintage. And last but not least, I'm going to give her a little 8/0 seed bead right on top of her little halo.
And again, so that it's a lot easier to wrap our loop. And we're always going to start out with a 90-degree angle, like that. And then I'm going to make the loop. So one thing I want to say is that because we are working with a head pin and not a long piece of wire, we only have so much head pin to work with. So I really recommend that you don't make this loop very large, nor leave the space very large, the space between the loop and that last bead. And this is because obviously we're wrapping everything by hand. So, it gets a little more challenging once you start running out of wire. And for that reason, I'm really cognizant of not making that loop too large or making that opening too large so that I don't run out of head pin.
Allie says, so pretty. We'll rewatch conclusion later. Picking up dinner. Happy Hanukkah, Irina and Tony.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellie. And have a wonderful dinner and a festive holiday season. Okay, guys. So, oh, you know what? I wasn't even going to demo any more of the wrap loops, but I guess we just made a wrap loop. Okay, so everything going forward, I'm just going to make it a show and tell. Yes, exactly. Okay, guys, so those are our 3 Victorian angels. And what should we do next? Maybe the snowman. Oh yes, we did do that. Wait, we did do this one. Yes. So I'm just going to leave it here. This is kind of like my way of keeping track of everything that I've already done. Okay, so next we are going to do a little show and tell about our disco snowman. And he or she is very, very sparkly. And I'm going to put her right there, or him, whatever you want it to be. So there's a little bit of a, well, something not quite obvious that's happening. So again, we start with our long head pin. And the first component that is going on this long head pin, let me just show you. So technically, it's actually a Swarovski sew-on component. Can you guys see? It's, let me flip it over. So it's flat on one side because it is meant to be a sew-on. And then it's almost like half of a bicone on the other side. I think everybody knows what a bicone is. Okay, so here's why it works so well for this particular snowman. You can see the bottom of the snowman, the bottom bead, has a very, very large hole. So in order for this to really sit the way it's supposed to sit, using a daisy spacer would not have been the best thing. But instead, because we're using the sew-on, look what happens. So the bicone part of this little bead goes right inside that very large hole, and you can barely see that there's an extra little component. So again, it makes, not only does it give our head pin a slightly larger head, but it's a head that's shaped exactly we need it to be shaped in order to work for this particular project. So next we have our medium bead, and then we have our starry bead. And I love these starry beads.
He needs a scarf for a neck.
Oh my goodness. No, I almost forgot his little scarf. Yes, we want him to be nice and cozy with his little scarf. And because I picked a teal, kind of a blue-green teal starry bead for this one, I'm also using a kind of a turquoise rondelle for his little scarf. And so that's what it looks like. And then, of course, every snowman needs a hat. And this guy's hat consists of two parts. So we have a disc like that, and we have a bullet end, which together makes a fun little top hat for our disco snowman. Okay, guys, and next we have another snowman. And the next snowman is, what did we call this snowman? Is this the Facets of Light snowman?
Yes.
It's Facets of Light snowman. And this one, let's deconstruct this guy as well. So again, all of these bottom beads have a larger opening. And so in order for any of these to work, you have to put something else at the bottom. So on this one, I'm using a snowflake spacer. So it's kind of like a daisy spacer, except this is what it's shaped like. So it looks like a little snowflake. And so we have a snowflake and the bottom bead, and then another snowflake, and the middle bead, and then we have a little red scarf for our Facets of Light snowman. So this one is very similar to the Facets of Winter snowman that I did a couple of weeks ago, but just a little bit sized down so that he can be worn as a pendant, or it could still be an ornament. Okay, so once we string our little red scarf rondelle, we're going to use, so I love this bead so much. This is actually like a chubby little drop. It's not a round bead, but look at this. Look at how beautifully, I know I could have just used a round bead, but you know, you kind of get a little tired of doing everything the same way. So instead of using the round bead, I used a drop bead, which fits so well into the rondelle. So look at that. And then for his hat, we have a little ring, so like that. And then I have this really funky little cornerless cube, which I absolutely adore for his hat. And Bonnie, some of you guys know Bonnie, who puts together all the kits. And she loved this cube for the hat as well. It's just a little bit quirky. I almost wanted to call him the Mad Hatter snowman, but I think that Facets of Light is just a little more appropriate for this kind of a sweet, wintry kind of guy. Okay, so that is this guy right here. So we have our checks and balances. We'll put both of these side by side. And let's see. So next we have the earrings. So these are the very tiny, what did we call these? Oh yeah, we call them the Tiny Angel Trio. So the Tiny Angel Trio comes, as you would have guessed, as a trio. So you get 3 sets of earrings with the this kit. And so the fun thing about it is that, again, you can interchange all of the components if you want to. So the wings on these are the same. However, the bodies, the heads, and the halos are different. So the bodies, the heads, and the halos come in pairs. So you have, you know, it's quite obvious that the bodies are different, but the halos come in silver, gold, and antique gold. So you can really have fun with that and play, decide how you want to arrange them. And so I'll show you the order. So there's just a little bit of a quirky thing that happens here. So because, here, let me take her head off temporarily. And so we start out with this very dainty head pin. And then, of course, we have the drop, and this drop has happens to be kind of a little bit gold. It's not exactly coated, but it's almost like a little bit of a gold patina. So it has this vintagey feel. And let me take the wings off so that I can show you. So inside the wings, there are 3 little seed beads. These are size 13 seed beads, which happen to be just right to fill this very large opening in the wings component. So whenever we have a large opening, unless we fill it with something else, it's just going to be really, really wobbly as we wear it. So to prevent that, I'm using the seed beads. And next, we are going to, let's see, what are we going to do? String the seed bead. So we have another little additional seed bead right there, right above the wings. So we're just going to say that's her neck. And then we have her head. And finally, her little halo in the form of a 4mm daisy. And so everything is very dainty on this. And I'm just pointing out you don't have a lot of wire to work with. So as you make your loop, just remember to keep the space between the daisy and the loop on the dainty side as well as the loop itself, and then you will have plenty of wire to work with. Okay, guys. And last but not least, we have our very festive drink earrings. And this I will actually demo because if you've never made these are not entirely intuitive. And I used to make them just a little bit differently. And some of you probably have my drink earrings, especially the martinis. We've had them for a long time and we keep redesigning and making them better. So, again, it used to be that I would use 2 different head pins on these, but now I have found a way to just use the one. So the martinis as well as the midnight kiss are going to be made in the very, very same way. So obviously we have, slightly different components, but if you really look at this closely, it's really all very, very similar. We start out with a bead cap at the bottom. We have 3 bicones, and then everything else is very similar. So let me put these down so that I can actually do the demo. So again, we're going to start out with this very long head pin. And once we have the head pin on, we string the bead cap. Okay, so you remember that's at the bottom of our earrings. Next, we have 3 little bicones. And finally, I don't know, what do you call this part of the glass? I'm just going to say the glass itself. And, I will point out one other thing. So it seems to be that my sample is slightly on the larger side. So these beads, these are very, very unique beads. They actually are gemstone bead, or well, to be even more precise, they are natural quartz beads. So these are cut out of natural quartz and they really will vary per strand. And so when we make these earrings, we literally have to match up the 2 beads, right? So that's why some pairs are going to be a little bit more diminutive, some pairs are going to be a little larger, but they're all beautiful and they're all going to be matched up really well. Okay, so having said all that, so we are making a martini. So the very first thing we're going to do is get ready to make a wrap loop. And again, this is going to be a 90-degree angle that we make. So I left just a tiny little bit of space just for like one little coil. And now I'm going to make my actual wrap loop. And again, stopping when I have a question mark and center the loop. I think it's centered. Yep, it's pretty well centered.
Kim K says, I have the champagne earrings. So cute.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much, Kim. And I think we're out of the champagne earrings, but when you guys go to the Etsy shop and check out the martini earrings and the midnight kiss earrings, you will probably also find some Santa Clausmopolitan earrings. I'm not sure. We might still have the grasshopper. We have the pink squirrel. So we do have a lot of different drinks. I don't know that we have the champagne earrings anymore, but we'll see if we can possibly make more.
We do have the champagne.
Oh, we do. Fantastic. Yay. Okay, guys. So before we cut off this wire, so don't rush. Do not cut off the wire. We are going to put a little olive on our wire. But wait, there's more. If you like dirty martinis, you know, there's an olive, there's also a pimento. And so this is what it looks like. And now we're going to either make a little loop, not a wrap loop, just like a little minimal loop, or you can do exactly what I'm doing, which is just make a little fold over. So I'm literally just bending my wire, and this is going to be quite minimal, and cut off the end. And now I'm just going to squish all my beads toward the loop and give this a little squishy. Okay, I cut it a little bit short. You know, it's doable. It's just going to take a little bit. And, you know, if I would have grabbed a crimper, I probably would have just used the crimper to finish crimping that little fold over. But, okay, done. All right, guys. And now, oh, but wait, it's not an earring. Well, first, let's see if it can just stand up on its own. And yes, it can. But if we want to make it into an earring, obviously, we're just going to open the loop on our ear wire and connect it to our martini. And ta-da! Here, let me turn it so you can see the olive and the pimento. And done.
Can we see Midnight Kiss next to it?
Absolutely. So Midnight Kiss is made in the very same way. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so let's see. I think it can stand. Ta-da. All right. So I'm only showing the Midnight Kiss and the Martini because those are the newly redesigned and they're back in stock. These were actually sold out, but there are lots of other drink earrings. So, you know, whatever it is that you like to drink around the holidays, there are all sorts of festive beverages. Okay, ladies, so let me do this. I'm just going to put the pair right here. And I believe we are getting close to being done. But of course, as usual, I would love to do a little preview. In the meantime, if you have any questions about anything we've done today, it's a lot of different festive projects. So if there's something I didn't cover, let me know. Or if you have a question about something else, let me know. Don't be shy.
Lorraine says so many great ideas and kits.
Oh, thank you so much, Lorraine. I'm glad you like them. And again, you know, you can make them your own. You can make them a part of your holiday packaging. I like this side of the star. That's why I flipped it over. You can make them, you know, like you can either put them on a gift wrapped gift, or you can put them, you can hang them off a bag handle, which is what I like to do. So that always makes things a lot more festive. Or you can just put them on your tree, or you can wear them. So many different ideas.
Kim K says, I love all the kits. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. Okay, guys, so before we call it a night, this is what I would like to tell you. So first and foremost, there is no video next Thursday. However, instead of next Thursday, we have a video next Tuesday. So next week is going to be just a little bit different. So next Tuesday, we're going to, oh, wait a minute. I'm going a little bit out of order. Well, before any of that happens, wait, there's something very exciting happening tomorrow. It's the Facebook Live shopping event. So you guys wanted large hole gemstones and Swarovski crystals. And I will say there's more. There's lots more. There's so many different surprises. And this is on Friday, December 8th, which is tomorrow. So we don't have to wait very long. And it's just like 13 hours from now. So that's going to be on the Eclectica page at 9 a.m. CST. Again, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And then I'm going to be making suncatcher ornaments. And so these are suncatcher ornaments slash just ornaments. You can put any of these on your tree. You know what? My hand is not going to fit all of these, so I'm going to show them one at a time. So, so this is going to be next Tuesday. Again, not Thursday. I know that most of the year we meet on Thursdays, and I hope this fits into your schedule. So this is going to be Tuesday, December 12th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on my jewelry design page, where you happen to be right this moment. And then, of course, next Friday, we'll have another shopping video again. And we can still ponder that one. So if you have any ideas for the next Friday shopping video, this would be a really great time to let me know. Or else, if you watch me tomorrow, you can let me know if you have any thoughts about the following Friday. In the meantime, the ornaments slash sun catchers. So this is what we're going to be making next Tuesday and not Thursday.
Joan says, thanks for sharing. Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Joan.
Lorraine says, happy Hanukkah, Irina and Tony. Thank you, and sends hearts.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching and all of your wonderful comments.
Jane says, enjoyed all of your examples. Enjoyed being with you. Happy holidays.
Thank you so much, Jane. And happy holidays to you, my friend. Okay, guys, so I love this one with the little dragonfly. I mean, you know, they're all my babies. So of course, I enjoyed them all. But I just really love the little dragonfly. And I love this next one, which I'm going to call Holiday Memories. So this literally has everything holiday. So we have the Christmas tree, we have the presents under the Christmas tree, we have the snowflake, we have the little star tree topper. So we have lots of different things going on in this little sun catcher or ornament.
Patricia says, also cute. Love your demos.
Thank you so much, Patricia. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, so I think maybe can I fit these in, perhaps, since we have all this fun holiday bling? I think I can. Okay, so we have our holiday memories, we have our dragonfly, and you guys know how I roll, so you can probably imagine that by next week, there will be more sun catchers. Okay, guys, so this is it. This is all my holiday bling. And I hope you picked your favorites. You know where to find them. There's a link to the Etsy shop. And I hope to see you tomorrow morning for our really fun shopping event. And always, as usual, have a wonderful and creative evening.